mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Well, welcome home, family. It's your mom and dad. Nice little round of applause. Family, I just want you all to know, before I say something, I need you to know this. I love doing this podcast so much. I love the family so much. I love talking about all these Goldens so much. And
Goldens. I always think about golden retrievers. Sometimes they'll be like, and the Goldens, and I'm like, oh, did you send me like a video with golden retrievers? And I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. It's
just like a herd of golden retrievers.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay.
Well, I also love the golden retrievers, but you know, I love talking about the Goldens, and I love you.
Oh, thanks.
I love you so much.
You guys, by the way, that's the first time she's ever said that to me.
I love you so much. Just every fiber of my being, I love you. But when I tell you, I would give all of it up, including us.
Yeah.
If I could just read romantic fantasy novels 24/7 for the rest of my life. Family, I have crossed a line where it is becoming a problem. Okay. I cannot stop reading. The ferocity of which I am reading through these romanticises. Okay. And now they're getting a little smutty. I'm not going to lie to you. We've crossed that line. A little smutty. The line in which, the speed of which I'm reading through these books, it's all I'm doing when I'm not working and being a mother.
Yeah.
Like the second Ember's in bed, Evan doesn't see me at all. My face is in a book. When I was watching this Golden episode, at the point when Jesse Palmer comes up and goes, do you have anyone in your family that you'd like to nominate? I opened my book and read for 30 seconds and then closed it again to keep taking notes. Like that's the problem territory that has crossed. It's all I care about.
It's kind of like our life is starting to revolve around it too. It's like, are we going to go to that dinner? No, I really want to read my 47th novel.
let me make something very clear. My birthday is in 2 days. My birthday's on Sunday.
From when this drops,
we're recording this a little bit before then, but my birthday's on Sunday. And when Evan was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'm like, I just want to read.
Yes. Just want to read for her birthday.
He was like, do you want to go out of town? Do you want to have a dinner?
I want you to leave.
Do you want to have a party?
Read.
And I said, I just want to read. I'm like, I got a stack of books that I'm ready to start ripping through because I've been reading about, a book every 2 days right now.
And every time I see one of these books, the names are insane. It's just like betwixt the leaves of time, introduced by the fires of the world, and you're just like, what is this, dude? But it's funny because I'm like, the genre,
and he trolls me 24/7 about it. I'll be reading and all of a sudden he just comes up behind me and goes, and he felt her rapid breath against his bosom, and I'm like, Evan,
he filled her soul and body with himself as he took her. Because if I'm being honest with you,
so good.
The books, I have a hard time getting past the fact that I feel like they are low key, like the new version of those 80s
like
books.
The Fabio books?
That you see some guy with long hair on the back of a horse. That it's just like the fires of time. And it shows a woman like this, and then like this guy like grabbing her from a horse. Like it's the same shit, just new version.
Let me make something very clear for you, sir. Back when I was younger and we'd see the moms grabbing those Fabio books, and I'd be like, wow, how corny, how cheesy.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Now I am one of those moms, and I'm like, you know what? Give me some of the Fabio books. I probably would like them. In fact, maybe I'll just go on eBay and order the old
soap opera on paperback.
Oh gosh, I'm literally wearing, if you're not watching the YouTube, I'm literally wearing, I'm buying merch.
Jess is into something because she's a merch buyer.
Because I have a Basquiat sweatshirt on. Shout out Fourth Wing, shout out Iron Flame, all my Fourth Wing girlies, okay? And yes, would people probably say in the comments, is it highbrow? No, but I love it, and I can't stop reading it. And you can't stop trolling me, and I'm trying to get Evan into it. It's not working.
Yeah, she keeps trying to do it, but it's like, it's a little bit like, and I understand,
because I want to share it together.
Yeah, she wants it because she tries to do it. Like, listen, we all have different things that we're into that like we don't share, right? Like, I'll watch a golf tournament, and you could care less.
Yeah.
But the difference is that I'm not trying to get you to force you to like golf. You know what I mean? I let it be my thing. I let you, but she'll come into the room and I'll be sitting there and she'll be like, okay, I have to tell you what just happened. And I'm like, about what? She's like, my book, Zorlander's Time of Love. And you're like, okay. And she's like, okay.
Zorlander's Time of Love is crazy.
Okay, but she'll come into the room and be like, okay, so Zorlander owns 3 dragons, okay? And the one of the dragons killed his best friend. Little did we know this whole time his best friend was Gormothian, the bad guy. We never knew. And she had been sleeping with this Gormothian, thinking that it was Zorlander, but and I'm sitting there just going like, babe, I love you so much, but I can't hear about the dragon's relationship with Gorlander. You know what I mean? It's like, I love you, but it's like me walking in and be like, babe, check this out. Scotty Scheffler sunk the 16-foot putt to win, to go on to a playoff hole. Like I would watch your eyes glaze in 2 seconds.
Here's the difference. My stuff, pure magic. That, garbage.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's going on here.
That's the difference. You know what I think started this for me though, truly? I think playing D&D was my gateway drug. I think that was my gateway drug.
It sparked.
It was like, I used to be such a fantasy kid. Yeah. Like I would just fantasy was what I lived and breathed when I was young. And then I became older and I just dismissed
and you're just like taxes.
And, no, for reals though. And then the D&D really like sparked this like love of that type of energy and that type of genre, which by the way, I miss a D&D game. We have to, I know. When it cools down for a second, the reality TV, we got to do another D&D episode. But I think that's really what opened this door. And so listen, family, for my birthday, if you want to give me a birthday present, I know I'm not normally on the Instagrams or in the DMs, but for my birthday, if you want to slide into your mom and dad's DMs, and if you have any good romance fantasy book recommendations, please send them to me. That would be the best birthday present because, you know, I've been trying to find, because I'm blazing.
At this pace, all books will have been read by the end of the year. All books in print currently will have been read.
Any second, you guys, on my daily walks, I have the book with me. I'm walking while I read. Like I can't put them down. So if you want to give me a birthday gift and spread the love, please, if you have any romance fantasy books that you'd like to share, slide into your mom and dad DMs and let me know because I'm running out.
Well, you're killing it. And I will say it's better than being like addicted to just like TV all the time or like whatever, and all of us can be addicted to when we're just like whatever. So it's, I guess, reading again. Reading's hot again. You know what I mean? Reading's coming back. You roasted me. Reading's back, guys.
Evan, the other day, we were in Barnes & Noble and I was getting another stack of books and Evan was like, it's so crazy that like reading's popular again. And I'm like, what did you just say? He's like, yeah, reading's back. It's popular again. I'm like, that's insane. I'm like, reading never stopped being popular. But I think you and I just stopped reading.
Yeah, right. I'm seeing trends of reading coming back.
And trust and believe, I will get you to read, King.
And pretty soon, writing will come back. Like using your hand to write. I bet that'll be a thing.
What I've been thinking about recently? I'm like, I kind of want to start writing again. Because when I was young, I used to write fantasy. Like I would try to write fantasy books. Like I've got somewhere in some sort of storage, I have like 120 pages that I wrote when I was like in 6th grade about a fantasy story.
Oh, you gotta find that.
And I've been looking for it in my mom's attic. Every time we go down there, I'm trying to like either find my Pokemon cards. I don't know.
You do.
No, there wasn't a title.
It was called Harrison Ford is my boyfriend. That's what it was called.
There wasn't a title that I had, but the main girl's name was Shiloh. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. But now I'm kind of like, do I write? Should I start writing again? And I'm not a good writer, just FYI.
You are a great writer.
No, I'm not.
No?
No. I think I have a creative mind, so I could like storyboard a fun story, but I am not a good writer at all. So I'm like, if anyone's a writer and wants to start storyboarding or writing for my storyboard.
We need a ghostwriter.
We're going off the rails, okay? Yes. But anyway, the point is, family, I love you all. I'm so happy to be here with you all. I love you, but I truly.
But your mind is torn.
But if someone said, "Here's a new job, Jessica. You're just gonna read romantasy 24/7," I would be like, I guess this is my life now because that would be my dream.
Imagine there's just a merch guy that's like, your job is to read all these novels. You're like, for what end? Nothing, just for your pleasure.
That's hot.
That's
so hot. That sounds like a book that I'm reading. Oh. Anyways,
boy.
I'm so just romantic and dreamy now all the time. Well, family, we're not here to talk about my fantasies, though. We are here to talk about Joan's fantasies with the Golden Bachelorette. So
nice
I think we
transition.
should. Thank you so much.
That was very good.
I think we should dive in, but first, we have to take a quick pause. Family, so on the Golden's group date today, Chock mentioned that he was going to need 3 Chardonnays. That made me laugh so hard. And I was like, Chock, I hear you, King. I love a Chardonnay. But here is my question. Where are you going to discover a great bottle? Where are you going to find a delicious wine with an interesting story from an independent winemaker? Well, let me tell you, our partner, Naked Wines, okay? Naked Wines has changed the game for learning about wine without having to take a whole class about it. This podcast is sponsored by Naked Wines. Naked Wines is a subscription service that directly connects you to the world's finest independent winemakers so you can get award-winning wine delivered straight to your door. And with our code MOMDAD, check this out, everybody. You can get 6 bottles for just $39.99. Okay, 6 high-quality independent winemaker bottles of wine for $39.99. And with the holidays coming up too, I'm thinking with parties and events, you got these 6 bottles for this great price.
Great
and it's
gift
amazing
idea too.
wine. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, we love Naked Wines.
So
the
good.
wine is so good, and we love supporting independent winemakers. It's so cool because every bottle has a great story behind it also. We're definitely planning on bringing some bottles from our shipment to our family's house when we see them for the holidays. And I love that their quiz matches you with bottles that you love, and we've been rating the wine after we get it, and each shipment to us gets better and better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We recently got a bottle of Matt Parrish's Rosé of Pinot Noir in one of our shipments. And when I tell you, absolutely obsessed. I had a glass when I was watching the episode last night, and I love that Naked Wines is helping me discover these amazing independent winemakers. It's so cool. Naked Wines has been around for over 15 years and funds over 90 independent winemakers around the world, and you can pause or cancel at any time. So just because you've got a trip coming up doesn't mean you can't enjoy Naked Wines before or after that much needed vacation, baby, okay? Now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. Head to nakedwines.com/momdad and put in our code MOMDAD for both the code and password for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's nakedwines.com/momdad and code MOMDAD for 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99. Again, I think with the holidays coming up, that deal is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Hop on that. They're just the best. Okay,
right.
Let us talk Golden. Oh, quick, before Golden, the Golden Bachelorette recap, everyone, just a reminder, tune in on Tuesday because we're covering the new season of Love is Blind, episodes 7, 8, and 9. Okay, I'm about to go watch those after we finish recording this, and then I will continue reading my romantasies.
Yes.
But I have heard, a friend texted me and let me know that these episodes 7, 8, and 9 are absolutely nuts. Okay, so I cannot wait to dive in. So tune in on Tuesday for that recap of ours. But let's talk Golden Bachelorette.
Let's talk about the Goldens.
So first and foremost, this episode starts out with a scene that comes later from something that happens that is absolutely heartbreaking. And I have a lot to say about that, and I want to dive into that. But let's talk about the group date first, shall we?
First of all, I loved how the episode started with Charles doing martial arts and then someone teaching Pascal how to do.
Mark was
teaching Pascal how to do laundry. It just felt like I need you got a friend in me. That's what I wanted to see because everyone's teaching other people stuff. So the whole crew's doing martial arts on the thing, and then Pascal's learning how to.
And Mark's it's going to be up to the number 3. And he's like, 1, 2.
I don't know. You can just see it was so beautiful. Just the relationship these guys have is incredible. And we see later when what's his name went home, Dan.
Evan.
when he's like, I live alone and this meant so much to me. It made me tear up, man, because I was just like, oh my gosh, these guys are experiencing like high school all over again, or like, you know, this like incredible bond where you got to think like they're all single, they're all probably living alone, they're all older, you know, hope is probably a little bit fading when it comes to like new exciting things, but the fact that they're just getting so much out of this experience on top of Joan was just one of the most, it just felt so warm.
First of all, the fact that Dan is gone was shocking to me.
But also just like
and a huge
is
devastator.
So sweet and tender.
But that moment when he started crying and he's like, I'm going to start crying right now. When he said, I live alone, and it was amazing to get to have time with a group of brothers, I started legitimately crying, like full crying where I couldn't stop. Like it was
unbelievable.
And it just made me, first of all, it made me like just devastated because I'm like, I want to be able to keep all these guys together. And second, it made me hope like, you know what, maybe there are options now for some of these men who thought, maybe they live alone and they thought, well, this is just kind of how it should be, I guess, because my kids are grown and, you know, my wife we either separated or she's passed away. But maybe after having that, there's this moment of like, why do I have to live by myself?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I have
a bunch of roommates?
Why can't I live in a house with a couple guys? Like, how amazing would that be? I hope maybe for someone like a Dan or like Charles, you see like, oh my gosh, this brings a light and a joy to your life and how much fun it is to be in community. And I don't know. I feel like this show, especially obviously with like the typical Bachelorette seasons, the hyper focus is romance. But with the Golden Bachelor and now with the Golden Bachelorette, with the Golden Bachelor, the true love story that came out of that was all the women.
Right.
And I think it shows that as we're maturing and as you get older, and I felt this in my own spirit, like the older I get, the more I realize how unbelievably important friends are.
Yeah.
Like they're everything. Like I adore you and I adore my daughter more than life, but like
good
friends,
friendship.
I mean, friends, it's chosen family.
Sure.
And I don't know. I just hope some of these guys take that and go, you know what? I don't have to live by myself.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I relocate and move in with some of these guys, or I make friends around my city and we move in together.
Right.
Something like that. But
amazing.
Oh, I was a mess at the end of this one because
Intense.
Especially we said goodbye to like a handful of my favorite men.
We're starting to get to that time in the show where it's like
God, it's
some real ones are getting cut.
Breaking. But we have a group date.
Yeah.
And this group date, so Jordan and Guy are going to have a one-on-one later.
Mm-hmm.
My guy, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Jordan's one-on-one.
I have something to say about that later. I have something to say.
All right, I'll wait to hear
I have something to say
about Jordan later. But this date, we have Caitlin Bristow show up. And I was cracking up because Keith is like big fan.
Yeah,
watched
that
her
made me
season.
laugh. He's like seen all of it.
Love her,
follow her, you know.
And what I thought was so cute is, you know, he's got all these girls. Remember, he's girl dad.
Yes.
And I'm like, I bet him and his daughters watched Caitlin's season together. It's so sweet. But we find out that these men are going to be doing some stripping a la Chippendale style. And at first everybody's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But then they find out that it's going to be for Stand Up for Cancer.
Yes.
And they're like, we are all in. When Mark said you couldn't keep me off that stage now, I'm tearing up.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
I loved how they brought out the old
Chippendale,
the original
Chippendales.
guys who looked incredible, but it was funny to get. It was almost like those. See, that's the thing I will say about the Golden Bachelor or the Golden series is that they think about each segment. How do we make this special? Mm-hmm. And they just do little bits like that really take it to a whole nother level where the regular seasons kind of just seem to be like, oh, we have a template. We just do another same thing. They do shit like this where it's like.
They do vary it a little bit.
They add more money and then they also kind of go like, how do we make little tweaks on this so that it means more, it's more interesting and it's not just basic, you know?
Yes. I mean, and did you hear that they're still touring? The OG
Epic.
Chippendales guys? Caitlin said they're still touring.
That's amazing.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
But speaking of money, I mean, we're talking money when, listen, family, we don't just have some standard song.
Oh, yeah.
These men get down for Joan to Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga.
I want to dig around on your disco stick.
Let's have some fun. This beat is sick.
Yeah, like, it was like, wait a second.
I'm like, and listen, I mean, Lady Gaga right now, Joker 2 is out. So she's all over the place. This is a big moment for her. But is there any moment bigger than if she
No.
turned on the television and saw that her song?
I don't know if you saw her tweet. It said, I'm retiring now. I can quit. So it's interesting.
That would be honestly a highlight of my career.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Shout out. But these men start getting some lessons from the OG.
The body roll lessons.
Can you body roll? Can you get up and try it? Can you body roll? It's like, oh my god, the YouTube can just see your like midsection.
Is I doing it?
I think so.
Was it? Did it look like it or not
I
really?
think so. I was looking into the monitor
Yeah, you
and
weren't
I'm
even
just
paying
seeing
attention.
I was just seeing that our viewers just got just your midsection just at the camera. And a nice little knee crack beforehand.
Yeah. I don't need that. Okay, we don't need to like highlight that.
But I think you can. I think you did it.
Yeah, I think I can do it. I mean, I think I would need to kind of just like see myself do it so I can know if I'm doing it right. But I think that, I mean, Daddy can move these hips. So I think that like, all signs point to yes. So anyway, Keith was very into this. He was excited about this.
Oh my God. Keith was thrilled. We find out that Keith said that around his early 20s, he considered being like, he's like, I think I want to become a Chippendales dancer. So all these other guys are nervous. Like I said earlier, Chock was like, I need 3 Chardonnays. I am not a dancer. Yeah. We heard Charles being like, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do this. Gary was a little hesitant. Everyone was a little nervous. And Keith was like, let's get out there and give him a damn show.
Yeah.
Like he was living his truest fantasy.
And that's the thing too, that one thing I took away from this, which was really interesting, was I'm always comparing them to young men.
Sure.
Like how are the younger contestants in other seasons handling these situations? And one thing is really that I'm taking away from these older guys is like insecurities. Mm-hmm. They're not spending too much time on it. They're aware of their own, let's say, things that they like, oh, I don't have a lot of muscles, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I'm a guy that's not ripped. And it's like not letting that hold them back to having a good time. Like getting cut from the show.
Yeah.
Not going, I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Yeah.
But going, I'm just grateful for the experience with these guys. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful to have met Joan and what she gave me. You know what I mean? It's like a real appreciation that it's like we've gotten rid of all the things that normally would have bogged us down and we're just enjoying the gift that is every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so interesting. Even the strip date from the last Jen season, there's guys who were like, I won't do this, or guys who were like tripping about it in a way, but not in a way of like, but just in a way of getting in their heads.
Well, because it'd be like we had said before during Jen's season, it's like completely understandable if this is not something you're comfortable doing, and absolutely tap out. But the difference of the energy is, like you said, it's there's like a less of an ego. It's like an ego.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time kind of thing. Yeah. And it's just like, I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how non-competitive they are compared to the young men, because everyone's insecure and so everyone's super competitive.
Everyone's cheering each other on.
So it's just a really beautiful thing where it's like, wow, nothing has to be this, complicated and on edge, although we love it for TV for the young guys. But I don't know, it's just always really refreshing just to see like, let go, have fun.
They were all cheering each other on. One guy who was also not nervous about it was Pascal, which we predicted. Pascal was like, I'm going to show her my abs.
He goes, I work out 6 days a week. I have a 6-pack. Like the difference was he was a little bit like, now's my moment, where the other guys were like, this is a fun concept.
I don't know if you noticed. So all the other men, when they get up and they start doing their dance, then they each have a singular time where they walk down the catwalk and then dance in front of Joan. All the other men, if they did remove their shirt, waited until they were in front of Joan. Pascal ripped his shirt off before he even started walking down the catwalk. Yeah, because
it was like you need to respect how awesome I look.
He was like, you're all going to soak this up.
Yeah.
He couldn't wait. He couldn't even wait. But when they were... oh my gosh, when they were backstage getting ready and Mark was like showing them how to put the cups in, I was dead. Like I literally, like there was so many just hilarious moments. Charles L was like, look at me, I'm young, energetic, handsome. And then he just rips his shirt off.
I mean, you got to hand it to that guy. I mean, that guy came in so sweet and reserved.
Yes.
And now he's on stage stripping for his like pseudo girlfriend. Like, awesome.
But also too, Charles L.
But he's hiding underneath this kind of veneer of, sweetness, but like the boy can party. You know what I mean? Like he wants to have a good time.
Charles L. is my inspiration for self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Charles L. is my self-love inspo. Charles L. is his biggest cheerleader.
Don't mistake my meekness for not being a hot guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
he's like, I may be like a gentle soul, but I'm also an absolute hot commodity.
And I know it.
And I want that energy.
Yeah.
I want more of that energy where I'm like, listen, I'm kind, I'm humble, I'm loving, but don't mistake this absolute hot bod.
I'm not insecure, let me tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then the Lady Gaga song starts ripping and the performance begins. This is some serious business, by the way, because these men, not only do they have to go down one at a time and do it in front of everyone, this is a packed theater.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the Avalon, I think, which is like it's like where your uncle used to go party, right?
Yeah.
The club.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's true. My uncle's an insane person and he used to go party at the Avalon. When I mean used to, I mean like in his 60s.
But the Avalon's like it's a big place.
It's like a well-known
and it was a packed house. And
LA
these
club.
guys didn't just walk down the catwalk and do their performance for Joan. They had to do a little number beforehand too, like a little synchronized number. That's hard work. These guys aren't, they're not choreographers. They're not necessarily dancers. But first we have Jonathan and Evan.
I mean, that was a real ChippenDaddies dancer.
All the young men can sit their asses down.
That was a real dancer.
All the young men we have seen over the years on this show, so many of these like stripping dates or like, Mr. Muscle dates or whatever they have where they do these shows. Jonathan put all the young men sit their asses down.
Well, did you see later on, one of the guys said to Jonathan, like the producer of like the show, not like The Bachelor, but like the producer of like
the Chippendale
said
the
we
crew.
actually would be interested in using him. 100%. Like that's hilarious. He looked incredible.
Because it was like when he did it too.
It was effortless. It was like he's done this for years.
No, he was feeding to the crowd, and then he took on the character because he was like Sergeant Sexy, so he was kind of doing like
he was kind of head down too. He
was head down Sergeant moves. It wasn't like
and he busted out into his underwear right in her face. Like it was epic. Epic.
And the way that the smoothness of it too, I loved even the ITMs where the producers were like, "You really haven't done this before?" He's like, "No, never." The way he did it was like a professional because it wasn't even over the top. There wasn't like any over the topness. It was subtle and awesome. Gorgeous. And I was like, Jonathan is just he's a king. Absolutely. Absolutely. And the outfit, like all those outfits were supposed to be like kind of ridiculous looking, and he pulled that outfit. He looked amazing.
He looked amazing.
I couldn't even believe it.
Keith went hard.
Keith goes
in between the legs.
Keith was like, "This is my moment."
So when he like pushed her legs and like went in between, I'm like, bro, I love this guy. Like, he's just like dad all the way, and he's like, but not on Saturday nights, baby.
Did you notice when he started walking down the catwalk, though his hand movements?
Yeah, what was
dancing,
he doing? He was kind of just
he was doing like
he kind of was like, I don't know what to do this part.
He was just doing these. He was doing hand movements like he was like a magician in Vegas.
Yeah,
he was like, I was like, what is happening with the hands?
And then another was it Chock who was like shaking his ass for the crowd?
Well.
Or who was? Yeah, it was Chock. Who was like literally like twerking on the crowd.
So Chock was like, "Hey, I don't want to do this. I'm super nervous about this." That man walked down and he ate.
Yeah,
he ate it.
He went for
up. He went down, he was shaking his ass, and he's like, "Hey, the ladies like the tush."
Yeah.
He's shaking it. He rips the shirt off. He's body rolling up on
Nobody
Joan
held
and kissing
back.
her.
No one was
Nobody
weird.
held
No
back.
one was awkward.
And Chock was an interesting one to me because in between his pelvic thrusts on Joan, he, in his ITMs, he was like, "Hey, this was so much fun, and I'm a person who normally wouldn't do something like this or really have fun. But she brings this out of me." And in this moment, because, I had been talking about the last few episodes where I'm like, I don't know about, like, I totally get how Chock and Joan connect over everything that they've gone through. But I'm like, he's tight.
He's a serious guy.
He's a serious guy, and she doesn't, I don't know. And is he competitive and like all these things? This was the moment where he was nervous And then he went down and sold it. And then in ITMs
Yes.
was like, I just had the best time. And then when they talked later, which we'll get to in a minute, but when they talked later, it seems like this like energy really is rubbing off on him.
Yeah.
Like he really is allowing himself to relax.
Big
And
time.
I feel like this is, well, later we'll talk about Chock, but this beginning part of this episode, I felt like I was starting to get a new energy from him where I'm like, Joan might be
the secret sauce.
for him, where it's like he gets to take a deep breath and he's like, I just had so much fun. And he let his hair down essentially and was body rolling all up. And he was like, that was the best time ever, like the best night ever. But we also had Gary,
the nutty professor.
who was the nutty professor,
Amazing.
and he was the other one doing the butt thing.
And he did the whole just like boom, like he
just
blew his
ripped it
shirt
off.
open.
He was shaking his butt, and he was like, he's in the ITMs going, they're giving me money.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it. It said something like that. Yeah.
I mean, Charles rips his shirt off at the end in front of Joan too.
Yeah.
And he said, I gave Joan a big surprise. And he's like, I performed even better than I thought I would.
Amazing.
The king of the cheerleading.
Amazing.
The self cheerleader. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was so
also,
much fun.
Caitlin was cracking me up.
With
Her
the
like
mark.
commentary.
When she's like, that's a dad I'd mess around with. She's like, no, cut that. That was
Well,
really
Mark,
funny.
by the way, came down too. Another one. He like did this thing with the hose
Yeah.
beforehand, and he fully went in.
Yeah, he went in.
Mark is. I love Mark.
Of course.
But I'm falling more and more in love with Mark because what we got from him towards the beginning and with Kelsey initially is like this gentle, strong father.
Sure.
He's silly. He's down to have a good time.
Yeah. No, he's the full package.
I thought that Mark was going to be kind of a stoic, sweet man and that he was going to have to take some time to loosen up. Like, Mark is loose. Mark likes to have fun. He's playful. He's putting the shark costume on last episode. He's getting everybody's cups in.
He's having a good time.
He's
cooking, cleaning.
Mark.
He's Zad.
Mark is so zaddy. But it was just this whole section, this whole group date.
Yeah.
I had the best time watching.
Yeah, it was so fun.
It was
so
just
fun.
amazing. And then with like the cause for Stand Up for Cancer behind it, it just like it meant so much.
It was awesome.
Then we move on to the evening portion. But before we talk about the evening portion, we got to take one more quick pause. So, I love imagining what I would do or act like or bring if I was on The Bachelor. And let me tell you, if I was on The Bachelor, I would absolutely be bringing my Manny system and Petty system from Olive and June so I could have salon quality nails in that mansion, people, okay? I love Olive and June so much. I've been using their Petty system for a long time now. So I use it and I'm able to do my toes at home myself, which I love to be able to do. And the quality with this is top notch. It gives me everything I need. So let's talk also their Manny system. You get everything you need for a salon quality manicure in one box. I'm talking salon grade tools designed just for DIY. You can customize it with your choice of 6 polishes. And I absolutely love their color options. And also, let me tell you, this polish does not chip and lasts 7 days or more. I love their nail polish. And this breaks down to just $2 a manicure. So your nails will look amazing from home and you're saving money. It's just a win-win. Okay, also, let me tell you quickly, I'm obsessed with the Olive and June quick dry polishes. They're the ones I'll use for Ember or Evan when I'll do their nails sometimes because Evan and Ember are a little wiggly. So the quick dry polish really works great for us. They dry in about a minute and last for 5+ days. And they're offered in 40+ cruelty-free and vegan polishes. And also, please, I've got all these. There's so many amazing things about Olive and June. Also, please check out the Olive and June press-ons. Insta-free Aunt Katie is obsessed. Okay, these press-ons look so real and they last for so long. I've watched Instagram Free Katie put these Olive and June press-ons on in less than 10 minutes. When we're like trying to rush out the door, she's able to put these on so quickly. They're amazing and the removal is so easy. Legit, you can remove them with warm water. It's unbelievable. Olive and June is just it. You must check them out.
Yeah, visit oliveandjune.com/momdad for 20% off your first system. That's oliveandjune.com/momdad for 20% off your first system. oliveandjune.com/momdad.
Okay, on to the evening portion of the group date. First, I would like to acknowledge Gary's leather shirt. Did you notice his leather shirt?
Yes.
He had a button-down leather shirt with red trim on it. Gary is a fashion god, okay? This man, the different glasses constantly, the looks, like Gary is everything to me.
Leather shirt's wild. I feel like I'd sweat so bad in anything leather.
Oh, I would never. If I ever I wore leather pants the other day when I was out, and it was so gross.
One small thing I wanted to say was funny is remember at the end of the strip date when they were back at he's like, Pascal was talking about how he had to rip his shirt, and then Charles I think was like, was that one of your shirts? And he goes like, no, I would never rip one of my own shirts.
He goes,
and then
Prada doesn't rip.
Prada doesn't rip. I mean, I could not think of something more iconic.
So iconic, which I'm excited to talk about here at the end. Family, stay tuned. Talk about the preview for the rest of the season with Pascal.
Daddy energy there.
You know, I was a little bit like, I was a little flustered. We'll talk about that at the end, but that was some serious daddy energy. Now, I don't know if it's coming off of him like hurting her feelings because he said I'm not okay either.
So who knows?
But if the way that it looked as it was giving daddy. Before we talk about Chock and her discussion, because that was kind of the biggest piece, we have a moment where she's with Keith. He tells her that he wanted to be a dancer at 20. And I don't know if you noticed this, but she did not look. He said, he's like, I thought about being a dancer when I was 20 years old, being a ChippenDaddies dancer. And maybe I'm reading into it, but her face, she did not look stoked.
It wasn't like,
and she had mentioned where she was like, I was nervous for you guys. I didn't know how I felt about this date. But then when I heard it was Stand Up for Cancer, and then he starts dancing again, and she's like, you just can't get enough of this, can you? I think she was
like a little ick. A slight ick.
Out a little bit. And I was like, Joan, I love you. Let the man dance. Let him body roll his way to the top, okay? Let him body roll to the top. But it made me take note. And then later, when they had a hiccup at the cocktail party, I thought he was maybe going to go home because of that moment. I was like, is Joan like not vibing on that so much? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm reading into it. But then we saw a longer moment with her and Mark.
Yeah.
Where they talk about the idea of feeling guilty dating after their loved ones passed away, and how he was like, Denise wanted me to move on. And they had a really good conversation about like, that's something that because they both experienced that similar thing that they can both relate to, that feeling of like, is this okay? Even though both of their partners were like, do this, like we want you to move on. But his gentleness is just everything to me. And she made a comment where she said, Mark has really helped me move along to not feeling guilty via their conversations. And I do feel like every time we see them talking, they're having very intimate conversations about kind of where they're at.
Which kind of brings me to the thought of especially how raw Joan is.
Yeah.
Like she's very raw. And we see all these previews about her being, and then her even communicating to the guys. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be ready to be 100, all this stuff. I really have a hard time seeing her with a guy that didn't go through the same thing.
I would agree with you.
Because it's like, if you're having a bad day, where you're thinking about your husband who passed and you're missing him like crazy and you're feeling guilty about it.
Yeah.
To go to your new fiance who just got divorced.
Yeah.
There's just a level of like, we can't relate, that I feel like you would need the empathy of someone who is on the same page as you to be like, hey, you need time? Go take a couple days by yourself. Let's work through this together. Here's something I was thinking about in therapy about, whatever.
Well, yeah. And I think everybody is different. So it's like some people wouldn't necessarily, I don't know. I'm just saying like some people don't necessarily need to be in a partnership with someone who knows the exact thing they've gone with. But I agree with you that Joan is raw now.
I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying because of the way Joan sees. If Joan was just like, yeah, I'm good, it'd be different. But I feel like Joan talks about it a lot. Whenever one of the guys talks about their similar experience, she connects and starts crying, and it's intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I see that bond with those guys.
Of course.
The Chocks, the Marks, who have gone through that.
Yeah.
Seems to be kind of a like, I can kind of fall into you.
Yes,
energy.
1,000%. 1,000%.
So it'll be interesting. I would just see over time, I wonder if that would be kind of essential for her to feel like I can feel safe knowing the pain.
Well, and even especially like you're saying, Mark and Chock, because like this whole stand up for cancer date meant a lot to Joan, obviously, because of John, but Mark lost Denise to cancer, I believe. So it's like that was huge for him. And then Chock's mother.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot that they can process through together.
And it'll be interesting to see in time, is she going to want reprieve from that?
Yeah.
Does she want to be with a Pascal who's like, actually, when I'm with him, I don't think about it at all.
Yeah.
And I need that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to know if she's going to be kind of seeking escape or seeking, you know, like like the same experience. I don't know. We'll see.
I agree. I would agree with your initial take that I think that she will end up with someone who has experienced similar things.
Seems like
to
she's
her.
in that zone.
And our big example here is Chock.
Yeah.
So her and Chock sit down, and he checks in on her mom and how Mary's doing. And I went back after watching this the first time to watch this date portion again, after finding out about everything. And this part was like heartbreaking, and we'll talk about it more in a minute. But he said, when they were sitting down together, he told her that his mom had stage 4 cancer, and he said, I'm going to be able to talk to her tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is so gnarly. But the chemistry to me seems clear at this point. Yes. On their one-on-one date at Disneyland, I was like, I don't know if I feel it. And each time they're getting together, it feels like I'm starting to see the chemistry more. And I really do think a lot of that has to do with him loosening up a little bit.
Yes.
And she especially too, even she had said, you know, what was it, last episode, that she was going to really let her guard down. And I hadn't even noticed before. I'm like, oh, I felt like her guard was down. But in this episode, I took note that she really let her guard down.
Yes.
The conversations that she was having with the men, how she was cheersing to them before, all these different things she was, and then talking about when they all sat down initially together at the evening portion, talking about John.
Yes.
She is like an open book right now, which to me, I'm like, she's such an amazing example of somebody who was like, hey, I feel like I need to do this, and immediately stepped into it.
Yeah,
like really stepped into it. But Chock was like, hey, let's talk about us. You go first. And I was like, bold.
Yeah.
That was kind of a bold, like, let's talk about us. You go first.
You go first.
And she was saying that she really missed him and she needs to see more of him, that she feels like he grounds her. He tells her he's crazy about her and has missed her. You know, he's like, I don't like the other 10 guys here. I just want to whisk you away, which had like the feelings of energy that I was talking about a little bit before, where I'm like, is he going to depart because it's the idea of these other men here and how he's feeling? But then they have a bit of a makeout, and it's the first one because Joan's done a lot of smoochies.
Yes.
Quick smoochies only. And this is the first moment where there was like a couple.
There was some staying
power. And in this episode, I noted she has a little bit of a makeout with Chock there. At the end of the episode, her and Chock have a even bit more of a makeout. And then during her and Jordan's date, I saw some tongue. And those are the two guys, Chock and Jordan, where she has lingered, and she's like, the kisses are not just like a quick peck. Like I saw some tongue with a Jordan date. But she ends up giving her group date rose to Chock. And she says in ITMs that she has the deepest connection with Chock at this point, and that he is the first person that she can picture a future with since John died.
He's also very intentional.
He is very intentional.
And he goes right for it. Like, he doesn't beat around the bush. He doesn't try to he just goes right in every time.
Well, to that
I wanted to see you. I miss you. I feel like really strongly about you. He's always making his intentions and his opinions about her very clear.
Well, and to that point, when he came back and they sat down together, he immediately had a question for her. He said, I have a question for you. The ring on your finger, did John give that to you? Or where's that ring from? What's the significance? Right. He like came in with a specific
He's noticing
question.
Things. Yeah.
And that's, I think, maybe the energy I was getting when I'm talking about this, like the competitive thing, which I don't, like I said before, don't think is necessarily a bad thing in this environment.
It's like healthy.
Because it's like, hey, I'm pursuing this woman because I really...
And I'm not just here for the boys, and I'm not just here for a good time. I'm actually here for you.
Yes.
And I feel like he is the most intentional guy there. At least from what we're being
He is
shown.
like, it is very clear that he is very into
He's ready to
Joan.
rock with her.
He's like, I'm getting the energy from him that he's like, this woman could change my life.
Yes, big time.
And I feel like we're seeing her energy change him over the past couple episodes already. But moving from that, so the next day, I wanted to say something out the gate. I'm like, I have to make a formal apology to Chock, because last week I was like, when we saw the preview of him leaving, I was going on my rant where I was like, see, I told you there's the competitive energy.
Sure.
He's going to threaten to leave, and then he might leave, and then maybe he'll come back. Well, I feel like a fucking asshole, and I'm never going to speak again about any of my like potential theories without knowing, because
that's what we do though. We guess.
I understand. But what ended up happening is we see Chock. This is, I think, maybe the most heartbreaking thing we've ever seen on this show ever. Like ever.
Right.
Happening in real time. We had heard the night before that Chock was going to be able to talk to his mom, and we see him on a call with his mom's caretaker, and his mom had died that night. Yeah, and it was just like so unbelievably tragic. And like he said, it had been, they knew it was coming. Yeah. But he didn't think that it would come then, Right. And he's, Chock had talked about even on their Disneyland date where he's like, I don't show emotion, I'm not a crier, and he was distraught, crying, he was struggling so much. And he goes in and he tells the men, and that was another moment in this episode where it's like when he told the men, the camaraderie of them comforting him and him saying, I know you guys have gone through, he's like, it's the first parent I've ever lost. Yeah. Jonathan's sitting there crying. Keith is crying in ITMs, and he's like, Chock is such a good guy.
Jonathan's like, I lost my mom a couple years ago. If you need anything, I'm here. So it's like a real bonding
thing. These men were
well.
just like so there for him. And just the conversation too, I thought was really important about like loss, no matter how old you are. Like they were all talking about like, these are men in their 60s, or like their parents are, if they're still around, they're in their 90s. It's like, we know that we're going to lose them soon at some point, and it doesn't ever matter. It doesn't matter if you know that it's coming. It's like the loss is just, the grief is just so overwhelming. But then Joan shows up, and she's like all in with Chock. Yeah. All in with Chock. And
something I like that he said when he...
Go ahead. Okay. I felt the exact same way.
He said, I need you.
So he said, I'm going to need you.
He's like, I'm going to need you right now. And I just thought, like, that was really good. Because it was like, he was taking him, because up to this point, he's been very much like man in charge. Yes. Taking control of the relationship, being very outspoken about the way he feels, very intentional about how he's acting, all this stuff. And he even said, like, in their first date, I remember he was like, I'm always kind of the one taking care of everything and in control and blah, blah, blah. So the fact that he goes to her and doesn't say like, hide the tears and be like, no, he just said, I'm going to need you right now. And then he's crying and then connecting with her, and then she's comforting him. That's a real bonding. That's a real like saying, hey, I'm lowering my walls for you to allow you to comfort me now, which really bonds people together.
Well, and like you said, just everything, all the energy that we had gotten from him before, the fixer, the more stoic, for him to extend an arm of vulnerability and say, I'm going to need you, probably was hard for him, but it's like...
Guarantee you she felt so much closer because of that.
And I think probably Chock feels so safe with her because she's also a fixer. Yeah. Yes, so there's like, he's able to take a deep breath.
I don't have to be like handle everything all the time.
Yeah, like I can lean on this woman. She can hold me up when I need to get held up, and I need someone to help hold me up right now. And he told her about his mom passing and that he was going to go back home and take care of the things that he needed to take care of.
Of course.
And of course, but something that I thought was really, really important too, is that he mentions that he has this feeling of guilt that he wasn't there. Yeah. And she right away is like, just so you know, I felt that too, because I wasn't in the room when John passed, and you saw that comfort him so much because obviously, and I right away, not to get like too personally heavy, but I right away thought of my mom, because my mom always talks about that. My mom her dad, my grandfather, had stage 4 cancer, and it was a long battle, and my mom was taking care of him for a long time. And my mom left for like 2 days to go away, and the first like half day she was gone, she gets a call, we get a call, they're like, he's passing. And so happy for my mom that like she was able to get back in time. But she even she was able to get back in time. She consistently talks about the guilt that she feels from the fact that she's like, how could I have been away? And it was like, Mom, you were there for him for months and months and months, every single day. It was just a day, and you can't carry that guilt with you. But to have then someone like a partner be able to be like, I hear you, I see you, I felt that same way. And we just have to know that they know how much we love them and that we were there for them. And,
Powerful,
it was intense.
Powerful.
It was really intense. But she's like, I get it because I left for my daughter.
Yeah.
This last season, she's like, right after my date with Gary, and it was going so great, and my daughter called me. Obviously, it's a very different circumstance. But I did note that she mentioned later, right before right before cocktail party, she's like, if Chock doesn't come back, it's going to be really hard for me because he's always going to be my what if. And so when he did come back eventually later in the episode, he made a quick turnaround. He's like, I'm coming right back to Joan. When he came back, I was so grateful. I was so happy, obviously, for him, but I was so happy for her too, that she then doesn't have this lingering, like, what he's always going to be my what if guy. And I have to then end this journey having this like guy in the back of my head.
Right.
So, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but I was super happy for Chock too, that he came back, because it was like, obviously he needed to go and take care of the people he needed to take care of. But I was happy that he came back because he was taking care of himself. Yeah. It was like, you found this woman, he's over the moon about her. It's like, do this for you, and I'm sure that's what your mom would have wanted to, is for you to take care of you and take care of your love. And I was happy for,
it was beautiful
for both of them at the end of that. But, after that, she's got a one-on-one date. Yeah. And she's like, I'm trying to process all this. And she did a really amazing job going from comforting Chock and processing all of those emotions to then being really present for Jordan. I wanted to shout that out for her. Then she was present for Jordan.
She even said, like, I don't know, we'll see how I can do this. And she killed it. She was super present.
Well,
but this is what I wanted to say.
So Jordan's one-on-one, yes.
And I got to say, it felt good. It felt good. And Jordan, there's nothing, listen, my only beef with you is that my wife's obsessed with you. So like, you've done nothing wrong, but the fact that my wife wishes she was with you instead of me, that's my beef with you. And so it really did feel good to see how horrible you were on the ice.
And Evan's been
like, I had just gotten off the ice, kind of like kicking ass, no big deal, like scored like 5 goals last game.
Yeah.
And to see you fall on your ass and be towed by Joan was a little win for me. And I just really hope that my wife got a little bit of an ick after seeing that.
No, it made me fall more in love with him.
Jesus. Because watching you flounder on the ice was just a little victory for me.
So they end up going ice skating, and Jordan's like, because he knew that it was going to be an ice cold thing.
It was incredible how bad he was.
He goes, God, I just hope it's not ice skating. I'm so bad at ice skating. And when he said he was bad at ice skating,
you can't get worse.
He could barely move on the ice.
Like a baby giraffe.
And he fell. Joan was dying laughing. She goes, so number one.
No, he could have snapped his tailbone.
No, I'm very happy for him that he did not like really hurt himself, because it looked like he should have been in the hospital.
That fall, the fall back on your ass fall is, if you land it wrong, you're in the hospital. So like it could have
crazy. And Joan, what she was laughing about is she's like, we made it 5 steps.
Yeah. No, well, the rink was a little piece of ice in like a warehouse that was like 15 feet wide. Like there's nowhere to go. Like it's so basic. But he ate shit. And I love you, Jordan, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I'm glad you're okay. Once I saw that you were okay, I just was a little happy. Yeah, that's it. Not a big deal.
I right away wrote down, I was like, Evan's feeling real good about himself right now. If Evan would have been on that date, everybody, it would have been so obnoxious. If Evan would have been on that date, Evan just would have been doing his like backwards skating.
Oh, shut up. I would never show off.
And the ice hockey thing. What's that thing that you guys can do that other people don't know how to do?
Like spraying?
Yeah, you spray ice, but then the way you stop as an ice hockey player.
When you stop, it sprays.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, you guys. Don't even worry about it.
I went and watched Evan skate a couple weeks ago, and I was asking him, I was like, please do the stop.
Yeah.
Please do I wanted to see him show off.
And I said no because I didn't want her to
Evan,
in the stands. You know what I mean? I just thought that would be inappropriate. So not a big deal. I'm just saying. So anyway, back to this date.
Is insane. But you would have, if you would have had that date though, you would have picked Joan up in your arms and been skating around with her. It would have been like, are you tired? Like, no problem. Picking you up, skating backwards, spinning, doing your icy stops.
No, I wouldn't have been corny.
And then you're like,
that.
can somebody bring out a net so I can show you my stick work?
Stop it. I would have
You guys,
never.
I will say that Evan has been crushing it. He's been playing these pickup games with other good players, and he's been coming home and being like, I'd be like, babe, how did you go? And he'd be like, I scored like 8 goals.
It's really not a big deal, you guys. I mean, if you want to like fantasize about it in one of your fantasy novels, it's not a big deal. I'm just saying, like,
there is a popular romance out there right now about a hockey player, but it's not in my genre because I like romance fantasy.
Interesting.
I like fantasy.
The one thing that could relate to me that I'm interested in.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so they get to the table or they get to the couch.
They have this gorgeous setup. This winter wonderland.
Is there a new Frozen movie coming out? Like, why are they doing this?
I loved it. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Just kind of random.
But they end up having a conversation. She's like, I'm having so much fun with him, but I want to get to know him on a little bit of a deeper level. And she mentioned that he had said that he hated breaking up the party of 5 that he had. And we hear a little bit about Jordan's story where, he said he met his wife in college. They had 3 kids. And then essentially we don't get details, but she cheated on him.
Right.
Which was
now they're like, he's in an
devastating
apartment with the kids.
But he said, and this is what I loved. So he said in his ITMs, he's like, listen, people say, yeah, if my partner were to cheat on me, I'd be gone in a second. Right. He's like, it's really not that easy. And
that's true.
That hit home for me because of some of my familial experience where you're like, you see when there's kids and everything involved, you're like, yeah, some people it happens and they're out, but you can't just assume and judge. And like he said, it's just doesn't always happen that way. And his priority was that he did not want his kids to be psychologically scarred from it. So he asked his kids what they wanted to do. Yes. And his kids wanted to be with him and move out.
Interesting.
So the 3 of them, 3 kids in Jordan moved into a little place, in New York, and he said it was like the best time of their life because they were like the 4 of them in a 2-bedroom and spending Chicago, not New York, I believe Chicago. They said Wicker Park, but they got to have that like time together, and he just seems like a really amazing dad.
He does seem like
again
a really good guy.
Going back to the initial videos of the kids where he had his queer daughter and girlfriend that they were both like, he's an incredible man and he supports us and loves us. And someone sent me, one of my friends, because she's also a huge Jordan fan, texted me a photo of like him at Pride. Right. And he just seems like an amazing
My only thing
dad.
with him is that I see her being very attracted to him. Yeah. I'm just not seeing the like chemistry.
She said,
I get it. I'm just saying I'm not seeing the like the same connection that maybe a couple of the other guys have.
No, I hear that.
It just feels a little more like he's a hot guy and we vibe.
Well,
that's
this
more
is
like
what
where
she said.
Like
I think this is what's going on with them. She said that she didn't laugh. This is the hardest she's laughed on a date. Right. And she brought that up again the next day before her date with Guy. Yeah. She was like, I laughed the hardest I've laughed with Jordan. I think she thinks Jordan's a hottie. Hot,
funny guy, yeah.
And he's really funny. So I'm sure she's got the hots for him.
Big time.
But I don't necessarily know.
I'm not seeing the intimacy.
The intimacy isn't as much there as it is with like a Chock, for instance. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like Mark, like you said, where they have these huge things in common. Yes. But then... have to make a note of this. After they have their conversation, music begins.
Yeah.
And the second I saw music, I was just dying to myself thinking that they'd be like, and it's Taylor Dane.
Oh, right.
We're gonna Taylor Dane again. And
That
he's
would
like,
be funny.
Damn it.
But they got REO Speedwagon.
Which is crazy.
crazy.
But then I was laughing about the idea of REO Speedwagon comes out and he's like, yeah, by the way, Joan, I dated both of them.
Yeah,
too.
like, what?
Anyone they bring out as an artist.
He's dated 3 of the producers.
Jordan's like, yeah, so love them, but I do have to let you know, I did go on a date with them a couple of years ago.
I did have a fling last summer in Ibiza. You're like, what?
With REO Speedwagon.
Well, REO's the whole band. I don't know, orgy with REO Speedwagon. I'm just saying it happened.
They got REO Speedwagon,
I know, it's
which
crazy.
for that generation is a big deal.
It's huge.
It's a huge
They're
deal.
A huge band.
Yeah.
So,
and he was very excited because he was like, they were my favorite band growing up. And he was like mouthing the words. And then at one point he was like, it's a great line.
Yeah.
Friendship.
He's like, you think they'll sign my shit after this?
Jones wanting to hang out with him. And he's like outside. They've used one of the
Smoking
rooms.
cigarettes with the band. He's like, you guys.
They've used one of the rooms in the ice skating rink as a green room. He's like knocking on the door after. He's like, hey, Jones, like, are you going to come with me? He's like, no, I just want to. Can I talk to REO?
See my friends.
Talk to Kevin and Dave or whatever for a few minutes.
Yeah, it was epic.
But listen, we had another, just like Jonathan, another like not full date.
Yeah, just
which
these kind of like, just these moments, these like 3-4 hour dates.
It kind of bums me out a little bit because like Chock got a full day and night.
They're definitely like leaning towards people and then like trying to squeeze the juice. So it's like the Pascal epic, the Chockfuls, and then there's the other guys that just kind of get these like nights.
We saw, but that's the thing, Pascal and Chock, it just bums me out because it's like they had a full amazing date. And yes, were their dates way more like extravagant? Sure, but I'm even just talking about time-wise.
Right.
Like you get way more hours when you get a full day like that. And Jonathan, Jordan, Guy, like these are dates that last.
They're dinner dates.
They're dinner dates.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that just doesn't feel fair.
Yeah, well, chill. I mean, you're going to get your shot at Jordan after all this, okay?
No, I'm just saying I was feeling the same way with Jonathan too last week. I brought it up last week. I'm like, it just bums me out for them.
Right.
When you're like, oh, I don't get nearly as much time.
I think that's probably just a part of the show itself where they're like, the producers are like, we like these for TV, so they're going to give them more love.
But I don't like it. All right, next we have Guys one-on-one.
Yeah.
And God, this man is such a doctor, Evan.
He's even the way he talks about stuff, he's like, I am absolutely feeling all sorts of glycogen in my muscles and feeling absolutely pumped full of serotonin at this moment. Instead of him just saying like, I had a great time, he's like, serotonin is at a 96%, which generally I'm operating around 30 to 50. But I will say my resting heart rate is also very high. You know what I mean? Like everything is just like,
when he was talking about his heart racing, he's like, even though normally I have a very low heart rate. Wink, wink. And I'm like,
wink,
is that how
I'm in great shape.
Is that how you flirt? Is by saying that you have a low heart rate because you're in great shape?
That's boomer flirt.
Oh my gosh. But then, so his date is that they go to Joan's home where she's staying, which, my God.
Stunning.
God. Yeah. Talk about it. I wouldn't want to leave. But they're going to cook together. Yeah. It's really important to Joan, her Sunday dinners with her family. So it's like, hey, let's cook together, which I love these type of dates. I'm sure that they are great for getting to know someone because you're actually just like spending.
You're also resembling your real life.
Yes. Yeah. It feels very realistic. Evan, listen, I know I'm no cook. Okay. I know that I am not handy in the kitchen for you, but this man.
How is he doing surgeries and he can't?
Well, that's the thing.
This is so confusing.
If you're an ER doctor, are you doing surgeries? Or is that a surgeon?
I don't know, but I would imagine there's some surgeries involved. I would imagine at least you're stitching people up.
That's what I was going to say. At least there's some needle work involved.
There's hand-eye coordination and precision involved.
And that's what Joan said. She's like, how is this man an ER doctor when he could not, the struggles he was having zesting that lemon? I'm like, even I can do that.
You're like, it's just go like that. It's like grating cheese.
Even I could do this.
Yeah.
What would you, if you would have been on this first date with me, or if you were, what would you have made? What dish?
What would I have made?
Yeah. Obviously, we know I would have ordered.
Yeah.
I would have done a gorgeous order from the Cheesecake Factory, the nachos, the buffalo wings, the mozzarella balls, the spinach artichoke dip, maybe an orange chicken thrown in there for good measure, a little bit of protein.
I probably would have done
barbecue chicken salad.
I probably would have done like for fun, more of a barbecue thing.
Okay.
So
you
it's
would have
like,
gone full dad?
because I would have think she could have had fun like flipping the burgers. It's outside. It's kind of a
Super
thing.
fun flipping the burger.
No, but I'm saying it's a little more action than just kind of peeling shit in a
But
kitchen.
you're standing next to each other
That's
and
true.
like talking.
I would have been like, get out of my kitchen. I'm doing this. Sit there.
Say yes, chef.
I'd say, sit there and look beautiful.
Oh my God, my whole body.
You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding.
It's crazy. Say yes, chef.
Yeah. Say yes, chef. Yeah, exactly. But no. Yeah, he sucked at doing that for sure.
But they have some conversation about family dinner, mandatory. She said that he seems like a fun guy, and I will say he does seem very easy to be with and talk to. She at one point asks him to lick the frosting off of her. So I was like, okay. But I will tell you, and we'll get into their conversation in a second. Obviously, from what we've seen of Guy on the show, he's been this like great friend to Captain Kim, to Charles L. And like I said, he does seem like a very like easy guy.
Yeah.
But I will say, I guess I was wrong about the Chock of it all earlier. When they went on their one-on-one, but I didn't feel like any chemistry during this date.
Mm-mm. I get like, what you are, Doc, good job vibes.
I felt like he was kind of awkward.
But he's just a little like...
Did he feel awkward to you?
Yeah, it just doesn't... I also think it's just a straight up, what do you call it? Chemistry issue.
Yeah.
I just don't see them like having tension or like our lives would mix. I don't know.
She said, she's like, I can picture Guy in my life with my family, so maybe I'm fully reading it wrong, but I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of silence. There was a lot of like longer pauses.
Not memorable to me.
That's
nothing about their. I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, they got on a date.
Yeah.
And he sucked at like doing the lemons, but like other than that, I didn't really feel like there was much energy there.
Yeah.
And then he was like talking about his divorce or whatever, and it was just kind of like, yeah, well, I basically fell out of love was just kind of like the message, and it was like, okay, you know what I mean? Versus like she has these, other conversations, and they seem to be getting into the weeds about it all in life, and I don't know. It just felt like a date that you would have like, they would have linked online, gone on a couple dates, and then never talked to each other again. Like it just felt like, I met this doctor. He's really great. Seems like a nice guy. And then the friends go, oh my God, he's a doctor. And they go, oh yeah, he's a good looking guy. Cool. And then 2 months, do you ever talk to that guy anymore? No, I really talked. Like that. It just felt like a nothing thing.
That's what it felt like to me too. When they talked about they sat down and had the conversation about his marriage, and he was saying it, ended after 34 years after they became empty nesters. He said, I didn't feel like we had open, honest communication, that we spent 30 years trying not to hurt each other's feelings. They went to counseling. She said that we're done. Obviously it's one of those things where we've had now a couple gentlemen who have gone through a divorce, and, as a child of divorce, I know sometimes it's like, it can be amicable.
Sure.
Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it can be amicable. Mm-hmm. And, two people, it's better for them not to be together, and 100%. But I think I had some question. I think if I was Joan, just like how I brought it up with Jonathan's when he said one day she just left, and I'm like, I do have some questions about what the other person's perspective was in this. And I feel the same way with Guy, where I'm like, when he was talking about it, he's like, I feel like we were just trying not to hurt each other's feelings for 30 years. And I'm now the happiest I've ever been. I'm a little bit like, I'm so happy for you that like you did what you needed to, that you both did what you needed to do, and it's better for you both. But I do also then have, if I was Joan, I'm like, I have questions for the other party involved in this.
Also, he kind of said two conflicting things. He goes like, I was totally shocked by the divorce. And then like 2 seconds later, he goes, we spent 30 years like not connecting basically, and I was unhappy.
Yeah.
So it's like, were you shocked? But you said you guys were like not communicating and you weren't happy. So
this is a massive assumption, but whatever, I guess I'll just say it.
Yeah.
ER doctor, crazy schedule.
Yeah.
I can imagine that
they don't have a bunch of time on their hands.
And once then there's kids and a crazy work life situation that all of a sudden you just kind of let a ton of years pass, even though you're not happy. And then one day you're like, it's
been 20 years since we were friends.
Not happy. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's a classic story too. Oh, the kids move out and
for
we
sure.
realize we don't even love each
And
other.
I completely can, even at our age already, I can relate to the empty nester
You're starting
thing.
to feel that.
Shut up. No, I'm saying I can relate to the empty nester thing where I'm like, oh, I get with Ember being this age and the schedule all of a sudden is like crazy busy with all the different things that she's doing and classes and running around and doing all this stuff with her. Life just becomes a whirlwind, and I'm assuming it just gets more and more intense.
Yes.
That I understand now at this age the whole concept of
Making your entire life about the kids.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden,
work, or whatever.
work, and then waking up one day and being like, we barely have talked
We don't
for
even
the
know
past
each other.
25 years
Yeah.
because we've been so busy. Like
And we've changed.
I totally understand when that happens with
Agreed.
people. But anyway, she ends up giving him the rose,
Mm-hmm.
and he says that his brains are creating so many endorphins and dopamine. I'm like, you're happy, guys.
Yeah, you just say you're happy.
You just say you're happy. But then we have the cocktail party. This was an interesting moment.
Very interesting.
So Joan almost seems like she pulls Pascal.
Like she's kind of irritated.
Yes, and I lived.
She's like, it's been a week and you don't even look at me.
I lived. It was like we had this amazing date. So she almost essentially pulls Pascal, and he's like, oh, did you miss me? And she's like, did I miss you? Did you miss me is the
Right.
question. And she basically kind of comes for him, and she's like, why the heck have you not been making an effort?
She's like, is this some French shit?
She literally said,
She literally said, like, maybe I'm missing something, but like, is this some French business? Like, where you're just like, she goes, the air of indifference must be a French thing. And all I thought about was, yeah, I love this French shit.
he'll forever be there.
Yeah.
Jack will forever be in our brains. No, he though.
I almost felt like she was calling him out for being a player in that moment.
Player or like
no,
not
an actual player, but like in real life, it would be a player. Like I almost felt like she's like, we went on this great date. Why did you go to? Why didn't you text me?
Yeah, why didn't you call me after our amazing date?
We had an amazing date and you never called me. And I see you out with this like other girl right now.
And by the way, that is such Pascal energy.
Yeah. To be like, I'm sorry, I have sex 19 times a day with 15 women. What can I do?
We've been joking about it, about the idea of like Pascal is like the dream. You run into him in France,
Yes.
you have the best night of your life, and he disappears.
Yes,
You never hear from him again.
So the fact that he like blows her mind and then like kind of just focuses on the guys for the rest of the
Pulls
week
back.
to make sure that she's like wanting him. I mean, he's in the
Well,
game,
and
baby.
like he said, he was like, I don't want to come off as aggressive. Like, if you want to give me the rose, you'll give me the rose. If like you're interested in me,
and she's
then-
using all these other guys like begging for her attention, so she's like mystified by him.
Yes. And you know, he said, he's like, listen, like, please keep me around. Like, I want you to get
Yeah.
to know the rest of this
The
book,
book.
baby.
Yeah, he's like,
I
there's
want you to
many
get to
more
know the rest
pages
of this
to
book.
be read.
But she's interested in him, and he's playing hard to get a little bit.
Enough for her to be pursuing him now.
I know.
How's the
And that's
tables
like-
have turned? It is my show now.
Honestly, if anyone was powerful enough to all of a sudden halfway through
Just
the Golden
flip the and now
Bachelorette make it the Bachelor.
Now all of a sudden, no one knows how this happened, but he's handing out roses. And
Well,
it's
no,
like,
all of
what
a
the
sudden
fuck?
women are just showing up to the
Yeah.
mansion, and Pascal's like, I invited a friend.
Yeah.
And then they're like dating each
Yeah.
other. And then at the end, he's passing out
At the end, he has both of them, and they're like, "What? How did I get into this?"
It's just 30 women. All the men are gone. And it's like, what
So
just
everyone just woke up
happened?
from like a fever dream, and he's now the Golden Bachelor in the middle of the season.
But she's into him, Evan.
Yeah, it's definitely like she's a
And
little jealous of the guy's
she's
time.
annoyed.
Yeah.
She's just like,
Like, why
we
don't
had
you
an
love me?"
amazing date in Vegas. And like,
Mhm.
what's this about? And you're going to just play indifferent? Like, you're not going to pursue me? You're
It's
not
an
going to
interesting
care?
side to her.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
Very
live for it.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that'll keep her on the hook for a while.
I think so. I think he's got her number a little bit.
God, Pascal.
Pascal knows what he's
God,
doing.
he knows exactly what he's doing. Then we had a moment with Jonathan, which was sponsored by Cheerios.
So weird.
Okay. See, this is what now told me is that I don't want the subtle, well, I guess this wasn't even subtle, but it was more subtle advertising than Jesse Palmer coming out in like a Tony the Tiger costume, you know, or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just like he's like, hey, look.
Do you guys want Cheerios?
And it's a
Like-
box that says Joan, and it's a Cheerios box. And they talk about like what it'd be like for breakfast in the morning together, and they're
Right.
eating Cheerios.
You know what goes really good with like red wine at night is a bowl of Cheerios.
And then they cheers to Cheerios in the end.
God,
And
I'd be pissed if that was my date. I'd be like, you're making this a
course.
fucking ad?
What I wrote down is I said, pay
Yeah,
Jonathan.
like you're ruining my
No,
date.
Pay Jonathan. If his part of the date is an ad, And he has to, because Jonathan had to throw like a cheers to Cheerios. Check out this Cheerio. Jonathan was incorporating it into his date. Give the man a check. Cheerios needs to pay this man, or ABC needs to cut part of this to Jonathan, because it's like, this isn't fair for this man to have to do this sponsorship.
The one thing I will say that we learned from that date, the one thing I wanted to take away was how much of a badass she is. Oh, like, dude, she's like 65 years old. 61 years old. She gets up at 5:30 a.m., works out, does all her makeup, all her stuff.
Walks the dog.
Walks the dog, is at work by 7:30, dude.
I could never.
At work at 7:30, having gotten up, worked out, walked the dog, makeup and hair. 61.
I could never.
What was she like at 30?
She does have a lot of energy, you can tell.
You could tell that she is alpha, CEO, go-getter. Because if you're at 61, have that kind of energy?
Insane.
Insanity.
Oh, when Jonathan was like casually, he's like, what's your morning routine? And she's like, well, and she has it like,
wake up, bitch.
Let's
go.
Every 10 minutes is fully blocked.
Crazy to be working out at 6 a.m. at 61.
And Jonathan was like, so are you not going to come back to bed and have
Jonathan's a little more. He's like, I do my 2 things and I chill.
Yeah, he goes, I get up, I got 2 cups of coffee, I go back into bed, I meditate, I pray.
He's vibing.
He's vibing.
And she's like, on weekends, I can make a little time for you.
Yeah, he goes, we have a little bit of a snafu here, Joan. Yeah. He's like, are you not going to come into bed and have a...
Epic.
That was a little bit of a moment, though, to me that I'm like, I feel like Jonathan gives me frontrunner energy, but I think this might be a problem.
Like, he's a little chill.
I think Jonathan is a little bit like, gosh, he's so gorgeous, and he just is like, I'm gonna meditate.
He's vibey, and she's a little bit like, vibey. Let's go, and we got like, shit to do. I've got a
schedule. Versus, we'll go back to Chock, who she says is her like her. It seems to be her front runner, main interest right now. He seems very regimented. I mean, I showed you the videos of him doing full like CrossFit training in the morning, and I bet they both would be like very scheduled.
Also, I would imagine at 60s, you're not looking to change your lifestyle.
No,
you're looking to find someone that connects with your lifestyle. You're not looking to like change it up. You're like, dude, I'm older. I have all this shit going on. I am not looking to kind of like swap my life out for you. So you got to find someone that like matches your energy for sure.
I agree. I fully agree. Next we have Keith. Now what?
I feel so bad for him. He got rattled.
You know what it was?
Yeah.
The first impression rose curse.
I wrote it down. I literally wrote down the curse of the first impression rose, which I say about every fucking season. Mm-hmm. It messes with your head because it gets you so into it. You think you got it in the bag, and then the rest of the season you're on edge, feeling, why am I losing her? Why am I losing him?
Why is everyone getting ahead and I haven't gotten a date?
He walked in, tall, handsome, cool guy. Hey, built the picture of what it's like to live with me. Then she never really pays attention to me for the rest of the time, and I'm losing it. Mm-hmm. And so then I'm overthinking it. And so the fact that like he shows up and is like rattled over his words and bumbling, and it's like what?
And it was so interesting because it's like, they have this whole picnic thing, like, this beach blanket set up with the sand. And this man sits down and like he says, we saw him first night, so good with his words, so charming. And this man cannot speak. He is so nervous. He is simply rambling. Yes. And none of it makes sense.
And she's like, so what's your mornings look like? And he's like, I don't really know. And I got to think of it. It's just like, what? Like he lost it. He was so in his head. And he even said, like, he went back to the guys. He was like, I shit the bed.
I know. And I felt so bad for him. He's like, this is so not like me. He's like, and Dan's like, no, I'm sure. He goes, no, dude, I shit the bed. Yeah. And Keith was like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, nothing about this was romantic. Nothing about it was like a date.
Surface
he's
level.
Like, I just made it so awkward. Yeah. And then I even noticed when they got up, I could tell he was rattled because he like got up by himself. When you're 60 in your 60s, getting up from the flat ground is not easy. But he like got up and then she was trying to get up by herself. He didn't like lean in.
Because he was in his head. He wasn't thinking.
He didn't even like give her his hand, which you could tell he's the type of guy who obviously would do that.
But when you're so rattled, you're like, you're not acting normal.
And so then she's getting up by herself and it was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it's tough. You feel bad because we really like him. So it's like tough to see him struggle.
I know. But
he stayed alive.
He was still there. But we have then Chock shows up like we discussed. Yeah. He comes back and we're very happy for both of them. He tells her he is crazy about her and cannot keep his hands off of her. His words, cannot keep my hands.
He sees something he loves and he's going for it.
He asks her about her ring, which was from John, and she has kind of this open conversation about how she's trying not to wear it, to like lean on it as a safety blanket. And then T tells her, he's like, listen, I've had my armor up this whole time and I need to let it down, but I'm afraid of getting hurt, but I'm going to do my best for you. And he says again, but I'm going to need your help. He's like, I'm going to need your help.
Love it.
And then makeouts, baby. They go in for it. And then she tells him that she feels, or she says in the ITMs that she feels safe and comfortable again and has hope for the future now that Chock's back. So clearly Chock seems like far and away the front runner right now. Yeah. But we'll see, because we have that preview.
Where she says, I love you to Mark.
She says, I love you to Mark. But also we had the preview at the beginning of the season, and I will never get over this, because I was surprised that they showed it. So I'm wondering if it's, again, an editing trick, because we all know that those happen often. But we saw at the beginning of the season a clip where it looks like they're maybe at the fantasy suites, because they look like they're elsewhere. And it looks like she's knocking on his door and he's leaving.
Who knows?
So I don't know. But it looked like either she's like sending him home early before a rose ceremony, or he's choosing to leave.
Could get to a point where it's too much. Where it's just like, I'm not built for this. I'm in love. And the idea that you might not choose me is too much.
Or she walks away not engaged.
It's possible.
Like maybe she's like right there at the end with him, and she's just like, I'm not ready for this. Because we're seeing that happening. Yeah. Well, we have the rose ceremony. The guys who have roses are Guy, Jordan, and Chock. Only 4 roses, so we're down to 7 guys.
I know,
I think.
quick.
I'm sad
really
about
cut
it.
a lot of guys quickly.
I'm like, whoa. Better. But the first rose goes to Pascal, Jonathan, Mark, and Keith, and devastatingly going home is Gary, Charles, and Dan. And P.S. Thank God Gil is gone. Yeah. Bye, Gil. No more Gil.
But I will say, like, those are the 4 that should have gone. Like, as much as I loved, Gary and Charles
and Dan,
I didn't see Gary, Charles, and Dan seeming to.
I saw Dan
a little bit, but I just didn't see any. I guess just more in comparison. I saw the other guys pulling away.
I don't know. I thought Dan was going to be
Dan had a cute thing, but I didn't see.
He had like his eyes closed, remember, and they were holding each other. It was a really
it was intimate. I'm just talking about like, if you were to say who has to go home, I'd be like those 4. If I had to choose.
Well, Gil should have gone home.
But
Gil should have never
I'm
been
devastated that Gary and Charles, I know, just 2 absolute amazing characters as well.
They are and when she said goodbye to Gary, she's like, my friend, and she was holding his face, and then she told Charles, you've changed my life. Dan is a treasure, but Gary and Charles are we do not deserve them.
We do not deserve them.
We genuinely do not deserve them. And the other men running after them
and giving them love as they leave.
And Charles is like, Mark.
Yeah,
oh my God, I couldn't.
So cute.
I just really hope they
so much love.
I hope they all move in together.
Seriously, I want just like the golden house.
I know. Well, we need the golden paradise.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We need golden
that
paradise.
Would be incredible.
And like I said, I think it should be on a cruise ship.
Oh yeah, that's genius. Genius.
A cruise to like Alaska or something, there's typically older people on that cruise.
All you can eat.
Yeah. Can you imagine Charles L with an all you can eat buffet? I feel like he would just
I'd love that.
Like he would be so God.
I love this idea.
We need it. It needs to happen.
Yeah. I love it.
But okay, so we see the season preview. We see Joan struggling.
Yeah.
She doesn't know if she's ready for this. We see all the men crying. Yeah. I think a shot of every single guy crying. Okay. And then we have the Pascal moment where number one,
He's
there's
like
a moment.
Shooing away.
Well, no. But number one, there's a moment where they're on a group date and Pascal
Snapping
is going,
somebody.
it's not fair. You didn't give anyone a chance to talk to her.
Somebody.
And I'm like, do we have golden drama?
First spice?
Who do you think he's snapping at? Who do you think?
Chock.
Yeah, I think so too. Probably took more time with her.
Yeah, because Chock goes for it all the way.
I think
we see the least amount of connection between Chock and the guys.
Yeah.
Like we don't ever see clips of like him seeming to like be besties with everybody.
Yeah.
So I think if anyone is going to get a little tense, it would be Chock like going for her.
Yeah.
Again, and then Pascal feeling like, dude.
Like Pascal's going to, oh my gosh, the drama begins. And then part 2 is we see Pascal with Joan.
Yeah.
And he's telling the camera, he's like, go.
Like, back off.
Get out. She's not okay right now. Go. And he's just telling her, she's not okay. Get out of here. And like shooing and shoving the cameraman away. And that was daddy energy. Yeah. And she's not saying anything. And I'm like, now, he says, we hear him say, I'm not okay right now. I'm scared. So I'm like, did he do something to hurt her? Right. And now they're trying to have a private moment. And in that way, I'm like, not as stoked about it.
Right.
But if she's having an emotional moment
and he's just protecting her,
and he's like telling the producers and cameramen to fucking back off, it's like Daddy Pascal. Yeah. The man can cut your hair and then tell the cameras to just skedaddle.
To beat it.
Oh, we'll see. Epic. But that's coming up this season, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But I'm not sure if this is a full length season, because if we're already down to 7 men.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we just maybe getting rid of one guy at a time now?
Maybe they slow it down now. Maybe there's enough drama. I don't know.
Or like just them wanting us to get to know the men better. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. We'll see.
But I do know there's going to be a men tell all, because I know my mom's trying to get tickets to go.
Oh my God.
So we're going to see the men tell all. We'll be reunited with our boys.
Yes.
Which I'm very excited about.
I cannot wait.
But family, we love you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you Tuesday.
We'll see you Tuesday for Love is Blind. Make sure you're all caught up.
Season's great. It's going to be epic too.
8 and 9, episode 7, 8, and 9. And then on Friday, another Golden Bachelorette recap.
Love that.
All right, family.
Kisses.
I'm back to my books. Love you. Bye.
Bye.